Imagine Thanatos and Zagreus in a boy band.
Perfect. That's like 10.
Dusa could have been rated lower because she's a severed monster head.
Hey guys, welcome back to Nintendo Minute. We are super excited. We are joined today by a very, very special guest, Greg from Supergiant Games, who is the creative director of Hades. Thanks for joining us, Greg. We're so excited to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is going to be fun.
Kit and I have been both playing Hades nonstop for the past, I would say, couple weeks. And
we both just finished it for the first time.
We both
Hours
just beat
ago.
it for the first time, yes. But we have invited you here to do a really fun video with us where we rank in the ultimate character bracket. So I hope that you're ready to talk about, to tell us your true feelings about all of these great characters.
In nothing less than the most scientific criteria possible, of course.
Right. So we came up with 16 characters. There's way more than 16 characters in the game, so we had to make some tough choices on who to even include in the bracket. That was our first challenge. And then we've divided it up into 4 different rounds. So we have best looking, or as I like to call it, the hottest character. Most interesting story, most helpful, and coolest powers. So yeah, I think we're pretty excited to jump into it.
And the bracket is seeded at random, and the
Yes.
categories are random too, so it's all very...
As you say, scientific, very scientific.
So scientific.
In every way. All right, so in our first round of best looking, we have Achilles against Dusa. Who wants to go first with their scoring and reasoning?
I think Greg should go first because he's the
Okay.
authority here.
Okay,
That's true.
I think my preface is, these characters are my babies, so this is like quite, almost literally asking me to choose favorite children. So I kind of approach this from the point of view of kind of nasty Lord Hades himself, and just kind of, I'm just going to be super judgy and pretend like I don't care.
You're in the big chair,
so-
behind the big desk today.
Yeah, so having said that, I actually have them both tied at a 4.
Whoa.
Dusa is, but it's really weird because they are good looking in very different ways. I guess, like, maybe in retrospect, Dusa could have been rated lower because she's a severed monster head. Maybe
Could be
not
argued.
traditionally the image of beauty, but there's something that's really, who's to say what looking really means, right? There's something about Dusa that's very, very delightful when you run into her. And as for Achilles, he's the greatest of the Greeks. This guy is, the embodiment of physical prowess. You could make statues out of this guy until the end of time. But I would go for Achilles over Dusa in this category, but I did have them both at 4.
I like
So
it.
maybe I'll go next because I have a similar thought on Achilles. I gave him a 4.
Okay.
And I think the reasoning is he's a little bit past his prime. If this was Glory Days Achilles, it's like, all right, that's like 5 out of 5, top of the top. But he's just a little worn down. He's just a little bit tired. Dusa, so I gave Dusa a 3. Again, maybe not traditionally best looking, but again, unique as far as being the only floating head in the game. So I give her some points for that.
Yeah, I had a very similar thought process to both of you. I was thinking about Achilles as like the embodiment of the perfect Greek hero. Right? So I actually gave him a 4 as well. Dusa, I actually gave Dusa a 3, just because there's less percentage of Dusa to look at.
That makes sense.
I'm still processing that statement.
If she had no head at all, you couldn't even, she wouldn't even be eligible, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's just less mass to judge the looking. So I guess that means Achilles is our guy, which is very exciting.
I have to clean the rafters.
All right, next up in our best looking matchup is Dionysus and Chaos. Ooh, these are...
So Chaos is a sublime looking character. You're filled with awe when you experience chaos. Chaos is literally the origin of all creation. It's like witnessing the Big Bang. And I gave Chaos a 4. Because Chaos does have some somewhat, can be a little bit unnerving in some respects. All the, little faces and kind of swirling mass and so forth. So Chaos, can definitely take some getting used to if you come face to face with Chaos all of a sudden. Dionysus, on the other hand, this guy is the god of wine and feasting. Like, he is the next to someone like Aphrodite, and maybe even sort of side by side with her. This is why Achilles didn't get the 5, because Dionysus gets the 5, because he's the life of the party every single time. He's just all charisma, all good looks, friendly swagger, all this kind of stuff. He's such a nice guy to have around. So yeah, 5 for Dionysus for me.
Yeah, these are very similar, and by similar I mean exactly the same to what I gave these two characters.
Me too.
You did?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
5 and a 4.
Oh wow, look at us.
Yeah.
We're like in sync. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Dionysus is like always gonna be fun and hot. So bring it. Sounds great. I think that just really
He's
nothing else
tan,
to it.
He's buff. He's confident.
Yeah. Chaos, I think, definitely a very striking character. But yeah, definitely a little unnerving. Like, you don't want to meet Chaos in the dark alleyway. All right, so I think we're pretty clear here. Dionysus is moving on to the next round.
I shall make myself quite clear in one respect. I fear I have a lack of patience for discussion.
All right, next up we have Hermes and Thanatos. What did you guys give these two very different characters?
I did poor Hermes dirty here. I gave him a 3. I wish I looked like Hermes, and probably that 3 was out of sheer jealousy. He's in perfect shape, but maybe, he moves so fast that maybe I just didn't get a good look at him, something like that. He's a relatively more understated looking god. Put side by side next to Dionysus. Dionysus is kind of a flashier guy. As for Thanatos, not to say he's necessarily the kind of guy who's concerned with his appearance, but I gave Thanatos a 5, because to me, he again is one of those, he's why Achilles, only gets the 4, because you take kind of the perfect specimen who's also a god, who's also the living embodiment of death, which is a paradox, but he's such a cool customer. He can, he's all about peaceful death, so he's kind of like a nice version of the Grim Reaper or something like that. He just takes people, gently into the afterlife.
Yeah, I also gave Hermes a 3. I thought he was maybe one of the more, straightforward looking characters, whereas others are a bit more extravagant in different ways. Thanatos, I thought, was like, what if somebody was in a boy band, but they were also living in the underworld? Yeah. And that's why I was like, is it a 5 or a 4? And then I thought more about the boy band, and I downgraded him to a 4.
Fair.
Why is it a boy band? I'm confused.
It's a boy band.
It's the hair.
Is it the hair?
Imagine Thanatos and Zagreus in a boy band.
Oh.
It could happen.
Perfect. That's like 10. That's a 10. Man, you two are very harsh on poor Hermes here. Goodness. I think it's jealousy. I give him a 4. I think, yes, he is a bit more straightforward, but he's still, he's still a youthful embodiment, of this great spirited god, so I gave him a 4. I think he deserves that. Thanatos, I actually gave a 5 too. I think he's just such a cool, character. He's very like suave, with his looks. So yeah, I think he's one of those very unique characters that is not really talked about too much in Greek mythology, but super cool looking. And yeah, I gave him a 5. So clear winner here. I think Thanatos moves on to the next round.
What's going on there, pal? gods.
All right, our next one, the ladies, Nyx and Artemis.
Oof. Well, you know, Artemis is one of the favorites in Hades, certainly among the Olympians. Less bickering among them, and I think she's got a lot of confidence in her own way, which is an inherently kind of attractive quality. But you know, she's not necessarily. She's kind of dressed in hides and stuff like that. She's not necessarily spending a ton of time, you know, preparing for beauty pageants or anything like that. So with all that said, I gave her a 4. Nyx is just talk about a 5 out of 5 in my opinion when it comes to Nyx. Nyx's knight itself, she is incredibly elegant. She's incredibly poised, but unlike with some of the Olympians, it's not even for show. It's like all effortless. She's just kind of got it all. Yeah, easy 5 out of 5 for Nyx from me.
Nice.
Yeah, this was a matchup where I thought, well, someone else is going to have to decide this because these are both 5s for me. Nyx, one of the details I love is just in her hair you can see the stars, and I thought that was such a really cool design touch that kind of reflected the elegance of that character. Artemis, I think there's just so many details that really, you know, reinforce, you know, what she's about and the hides, and, you know, it's a good thing maybe this isn't best smelling because I'm not sure if she would come out on top of that one, but just, you know, very athletic looking, you know, just really been out in the world and out in nature.
Well, I will be the tiebreaker for this one then, because I gave Artemis a 4. And I gave Nyx a 5. Artemis is actually one of my favorite characters in the game. Too bad. I had a lot to say about her in the helpful category. But yeah, I think it's a tough matchup. Yes, sorry Artemis, go back to the hunt, but you're not moving on.
Like Hades himself, the bracket don't care.
The bracket don't care, that's
No.
right. Okay, so Nyx moves on into the next round.
Look, I'm not like all the others on Olympus.
Our next matchup is
On her.
That's
I
going
like
to be
the
my new personal
consistency.
slogan. There's
Yeah.
just a limit on how attractive mortals can be.
Yep.
Sorry.
You're losing points just by being
Yep,
flesh
sorry.
and blood,
More
sorry.
like there's an extra room if you're a god.